Welcome to another episode of Talkin Shop. I've got my friend Jonathan Novy from Chicago. You may or may not know him. He rides kind of quiet with the Ritholtz group, but he's with the Ritholtz Wealth Management team on his way down to Nashville. And I got the fortune of spending a few hours with him. And we probably should have had the camera going while we were in the conference room, but wanted to record an episode before he hits the road. So Jonathan, thanks for joining me today.
No, thank you. The pleasure and privilege is all mine for sure.
So like I said, we had a lot of free jewelry, as Tyrone likes to say, in that conference room. But one area that we talked about a decent amount was technology for advisors. Mm-hmm. So we thought that would be a good conversation for this episode of Talkin Shop to kind of talk about. There's a lot of focus on technology, which maybe there shouldn't be, or maybe there should be. So why don't you kind of educate the advisors out there? It's kind of your take on technology and how it's there to help us, but sometimes it distracts us as well.
Sure. So again, Justin, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I guess I've had the privilege, or maybe it wasn't a privilege, maybe it was a curse, of being at three different places in the wealth management world, having started at an insurance company broker-dealer where the technology was god-awful, and then being an independent hybrid with a large broker-dealer, and now being fully independent. So I've seen a lot of the technology out there. And when you're trying to adopt advisor technology, I think we have to try and approach it with the same kind of models or heuristics that we use all the time with our clients. Most importantly being, one, everything you do has to make your client experience better. And two, simple beats complex. If you can keep both of those things in mind, then it helps you sift through just the myriad things that are available to us in the advisor tech world. I mean, it's amazing how many really good financial planning programs there are, how many like trading and rebalancing programs there are, how many CRMs there are. And I've been down the road of all of them. We've tried everything. I mean, I've used God knows how many CRMs and God knows how many trading technologies and all that. And you can spend all your time trying to figure out what the best one is. And what you really have to do is try and figure out the one that works for you and allows you to tell the most clear, simple, concise story for your client, where your technology actually exists in the background and not in the foreground. Because we found that when you try to adopt something new, just use like e-money as an example. E-money is fantastic. And although we don't necessarily use it, I tried to use it and I couldn't because I didn't have the time to dedicate to it. But the financial planning software we use, it allows us to tell a really good story to our client. And it exists in the background and it allows us to make the engagement with our client be the most important part. You can't have the technology you use be the focal point of your relationship. You have to have the relationship be the focal point of what you're doing with your client and not the shiny great gadget that you put on the screen. So it's really hard to figure out the right thing to use, but you just have to simplify it to the point where you may not use every bell and whistle on a planning program or a CRM or anything like that, or a screen sharing software. Like I use Join.me for screen sharing. Other people like to use Zoom, or you can use Google Hangouts, or you can use anything. You just have to use it to the point where it makes your engagement with your client better. And that's really hard, and that's kind of the key with advisor technology now, to make it work for your firm.
So I'm sure people might be curious, since you don't use e-money, I use e-money. And you guys have been vocal about who you use, but just who do you guys use for your financial planning software?
We use Money Guide Pro.
Okay.
It does everything that we need it to do. It's not better or worse than anything else.
So I think that, I think the thing with the financial planning software is I don't think any one of them is perfect. And I think a lot of times you see conversations on Twitter with people bad-mouthing the advisors and what we do and what we earn, and that planning software is not perfect. I don't think that the planning software is there it's not there to predict. Like we don't know. I think the planning software is there to help us figure out what is a realistic outcome, what could things be, and how can we fix those, or we're on the right track and have conversations. But a financial plan, as you guys know, is ongoing. So we look at the financial planning software today, here's what projections, here's what could happen, here's the likelihood that it could happen, and we're in good shape or we need to address this issue, but you don't just do it once. And whether it's you don't like Monte Carlo or they don't run enough scenarios in the Monte Carlo, like there's going to be no perfect financial planning software. So you have to find the software, or maybe it's just an Excel spreadsheet you build yourself, but you find the software that, again, allows you to do the best job for your clients, tell the story that they need to know, and then do the planning. So I think figuring out, is it e-money or is it Money Guide Pro or is it Right Capital, there's all going to be differences. There's going to be some that they do better, some things that they don't do as well. But finding the one that allows you to do a plan that you feel confident is heading your clients in the right direction and that you can communicate that, that's the most important thing.
I totally agree. I like to say, and I say this with clients, you don't use a financial plan to anchor somebody to some sort of uncertain future, because we all know the future is uncertain, and we all know that the assumptions we make are never going to come true. You use a financial plan, you engage in planning to help a person make better decisions in the present.
Mm-hmm.
If you ground all of your financial decisions in a plan, in an ongoing plan, then it's easier to understand how to make better decisions.
Mm-hmm.
The future is uncertain no matter what. But if you can develop a framework to make better decisions in the present
Mm-hmm.
and use your financial planning software to do that, then you believe that you're gonna, as we say, start lower left and end up upper right,
Mm-hmm.
which is generally where you want your clients to end up. But I've used a lot of software in the past. Some are better than others. Some have a better user experience.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you can use the software you have to help your client make a better decision,
Mm-hmm.
then it's great. But you can't make it about the shiny software. And that's a problem that I've had before. Like I've seen beautiful things and said, oh my God, we have to use this now because it looks so good. And then of course, if I don't know how to use it and I try to use it with a client, you end up mucking the whole thing up and you look like an idiot. And you want to avoid that in front of your clients all the time. But I mean, software is such a part of what we all do now. And Josh put it really well on a firm call recently. We don't believe that software is an investment you make. It is a fee that you pay because you need to have it all the time. And it is always going to be changing. The last hour when we sat and talked about the software we use in the conference room over here, I think as advisors, we have to be willing to admit that 5 years from now, the stuff that we're using may well be totally different. I mean, I live in Slack. My firm lives in Slack. I hope I'm still using it in 5 years, but I might not be. We use Money Guide Pro, and we have a trading software, and we have a CRM. It's entirely possible that none of those things will be the same in 5 years. And you have to be willing to understand that and be nimble. So
I think that another key point to technology is helping the client experience, but I think also efficiencies. Finding the technology that's going to allow you to be most efficient. So I get a lot of questions about how do I have enough time to run your firm, do content and those things. And part of that is leveraging the technology to help me be efficient. So whether it is allowing my team members to be able to do stuff, Slack helps out with that, or if it's software like iRebow through TD Ameritrade, that helps me run my portfolios. So I don't have to go in and manually check for tax loss harvesting, or do I need to manually go check to see if rebalancing needs to be done. iRebow can help me do that and cuts down the time to where I just need to approve trades. So I think that there's the client side of the importance of technology, but there's also the efficiency of running the business and helping you do as few things as possible to run your business properly. So I think that's the other area that technology really helps out. But I get shiny object syndrome. I like trying out new technology. I will say, though, that as I've been doing this longer and I'm getting more entrenched with my technology, the shiny objects don't come as often as before because
right.
I've got things that are helping me be efficient. Systems are in place. Clients are used to it. Darlene's used to it. Why do I want to shake that up? So I want to have a pulse of what's going on out there as far as technology, but I don't want to be doing demos all the time because that's a waste of time.
No, I agree with that. And I'm not the first person to have said this, but I remember somebody saying at a conference somewhere that technology is not going to replace people. It's not going to replace advisors. And we're learning that right now when, you think of all of the robo-advisors who were launched in the past many years, the vast majority of them have pivoted to now wanting to actually allow advisors to use them rather than go straight to consumers. So advisors are not going to be replaced by technology. But advisors who know how to use technology will replace the advisors who don't. Because it's simply not possible to scale a business in the way that we all want to scale ours without making use of the tools that are out there.
Right.
I mean, my dad, who was in this business for the most part for a long time, it was an investment for him to buy an adding machine when he started in the late 1960s, early 1970s, and that was they had these actuarial books and pricing stuff that he still has these in his office. And we have more computing power in the phone that we use now than he ever had to run his business. But the business is changing to the point where we have to take advantage of that. And you have to be better and better at using it. And it's conversations like these that we're having where I'm learning things that I'm not doing that I might be able to do better that will make me better use my time. So I can do things like this, and I can make the relationships I have with my clients more meaningful. Because the whole point is, you want to have meaningful engagements with your clients. And most of mine don't want to spend an hour and a half in the office every quarter, reviewing financial plans and talking about investments. They want to take 30 to 45 minutes, and they want to bang through the important stuff, and they want to do it on a screen share. And then they want to go back to their family at night, because they sure as hell don't want me sitting in their kitchen. And nor do I want to be there, to be perfectly fair. I want to be in my kitchen.
And you've got clients spread out. And I have clients in other states as well, but I have clients in Fishers, which if you're not familiar, Fishers is not a huge city. You could get to my office from anywhere in Fishers probably 10, 15 minutes at the most. But we still do Zoom meetings in the evening because it's more convenient. They're working during the day, they have young kids. So technology through Zoom allows them to meet with me at 8:30 at night after all of our kids are fed and ready for bed, and we can take care of business at that point. And it does kind of cut through and get through a lot quicker because it is 8:30 at night. So you don't want to be on an hour and a half Zoom meeting being, spent when you get done and have to go to bed. So technology is helping that. Even in local clients who are within driving distance of me, we still use the Zooms.
Right. Like my clients that I've had for a long time that used to like to come into the office, now that we're doing more and more with screen sharing technology and stuff, they would rather jump on a screen share for 30 minutes to discuss what we have to discuss. You exchange documentation via like secure portals or something like that, or secure emails, rather than have to come in and park the car and sit in the office and all that. And I know that, God, I remember years ago when I started, everyone always said you want to have your clients come into your office, and I had no idea how people did that. Like the business that I had started in was the advisor's job was to go see the client.
So I spent many evenings in kitchens.
Yeah,
we were driving to some soccer tournaments this weekend for the boys, and it was up in an area that I used to drive all the time, and I haven't been there for years. But when I worked for the 403B company, I didn't have an office, so my office was everybody's house. And I will say there was some benefit to doing that, but it's back to efficiency. It's way more efficient for people either to come in to the office so I can be here and see more people in a day than I could if I'm spending hours driving around, or to your point of technology, leveraging Zoom or Join.me or whatever the software is.
Yeah, like I remember those kitchen nights when you'd go sit with people, and obviously you learn how to talk to people when you do that. Like we all have to learn how to be advisors, and you don't magically kind of know what the right way is to give advice, but thankfully those days are gone. And I'm curious to see how younger advisors will come up through the business now when they're not speaking to people in person, because there is an entirely different cadence of how you talk to someone when you're doing it via a screen share on the phone, or whether you're doing video conferencing. And I'll be the first person to say that I do not like video conferencing with clients. I think it's really distracting to be speaking to someone face-to-face on a video conference. I really like screen shares and then talking on the phone, or like doing it through the audio on my computer. I don't know why video conferencing is hard, but I haven't found a way to make that really useful or not be super clunky and awkward. But
it's because you're staring at yourself, even though
it could be.
At least on Zoom I'm a small box, but I can still see my face, and it's distracting for me to see my face. But I do both. I do screen share, and then if it's not a screen share need, then I like to be able to see the person, because to me it's not quite the same as you and I sitting next to each other at the table, but it's still kind of close. And I do think that part of the reason advisors are never going to go away is there's a human element that people still want. And I think that you can still feel that human element to a higher degree when you can see each other. If it's always over the screen and it's just verbal, it's still higher than other forms, but I don't think it's as high. At least my thought is, it's not as high of a contact touch as still seeing each other and flipping back and forth. But I think we talked about earlier, doing what works best for you. So if it works best for you to do screen share only, very little face-to-face, and your clients are okay with that, then it's working, it doesn't matter. I do have a question for you that you didn't know I was going to throw. What's the one piece of technology you couldn't work without?
That is easy. I could not work without Slack.
Okay. This is not a stock recommendation either.
No. I don't own Slack in my portfolio. So our firm, we have offices all over the country, as everyone knows, and I work in the Chicago office for RWM. The challenge, I believe, when you have people everywhere is making sure people feel tied to each other, and making sure you're always on the same page and you're always thinking the same thing. And yes, it's really good to have differing, novel kinds of opinions and backgrounds in your firm, but there are times when I need to get a hold of Ben Carlson, or I need to ask bury a question, and the best way to do that is with Slack.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Like, I had no idea that I needed it until I was using it.
Mm-hmm.
It is the centerpiece of our entire business. It is the backbone of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
I simply could not live without it.
Okay.
Yeah. And my wife still to this day does not understand exactly what it is or why I use it when she sees me banging away on it.
I set up a family Slack. We don't use it a lot yet, but I envision using it as the boys get older, so we can have like chores, and I would love to be able to build a calendar inside of there. But I have like 10 Slack channels for all these different things that I have going on, and I've created a family one, and there's like a grocery list and all these things that we can have our family communications within there. So I had an idea of trying to build a family-like Slack app on its own, but I don't have the expertise or the time to do that. So if anybody wants to run with that idea, run with it. So you mentioned going to a conference. I think it's a good segue to WealthStack. So everybody knows WealthStack is coming up next month. Very heavy on technology. So I thought, being that you have very strong opinions about technology, and I think you communicate those very well, for advisors that are going to be coming that really want to learn about technology, what would be some advice or some things for you that you think they should keep in mind as they come to WealthStack to learn more about technologies to help that client interaction, help efficiencies?
First, most importantly, best panel at WealthStack is going to be the one Justin's
I was going to plug mine.
So I'm going to plug it already.
September 8th, 3:20, be there.
So with any kind of conference, I think that WealthStack is going to be the kind of conference for people who don't like going to conferences. I don't know that many people who have loved the traditional kind of wealth management conference where the people, like the mutual fund manufacturers, are the ones who are paying for the time to go up there and tell you why their large cap growth fund is better than everyone else's. I never liked those conferences. I would always get up and walk out of the room and that stuff would happen. The best conferences are the ones where the people who do the same thing you do are up there talking to you about what they have learned and what their best practices are to get stuff done. So with WealthStack, the lineup of speakers is unbelievable. The lineup of technology who's going to be there is incredible. The thing I would focus on is think of the things in your business that are friction points, that are really hard, and the stuff you're continually struggling with trying to get right. And go listen to the people who are addressing those issues, and go find the people that you think have mastered that, or at least done a better job at it than you have, and go ask them. I think the great thing about the community who will be attending WealthStack, and I've seen, like, it's generally a lot of the FinTwit people that we know. People are really generous with their time and their expertise. I mean, I've learned more in the last hour and a half talking to Justin than I've learned in the last 6 months about a lot of this stuff. So people will be willing to share with you what they know and what their technology can do for you and your firm. So find the place where you're having the biggest problem and go try to figure that out and ease that friction. Because if you can pick those things off one by one, take the things you're struggling with, and then fix that, I mean, that is just going to compound your ability to be more efficient and successful.
I agree. I have nothing more to add to that. Final question, favorite hip-hop album?
Favorite hip-hop album? So, wow. If I had to pick one hip-hop album,
it's hard.
It is hard. Wow.
He didn't know this was coming, as you can tell.
No, and there's like 4 or 5.
All right, list those 4 or 5 real quick, and
all right, here's a couple.
One.
So, the Low End Theory.
Okay.
That's kind of my generation of hip hop. You know what? My favorite hip hop album of all time is Paul's Boutique.
Okay.
Like, you know what?
And Brian.
It's Paul's Boutique.
Last time I saw you and Brian Rosen is his partner in Chicago. I gave the Beastie Boys a second. I just can't get into it. Like that style, I don't like.
Fair.
And I think it's weird because that was when I was growing up. I remember friends had it, and I just had never really got into the Beastie Boys. And I tried listening to it, and I couldn't stick with it.
That's fair. Like, they're a thing for sure. I remember the first hip hop record I ever bought was I bought the cassette tape of The King of Rock on DMC. So that's the generation of hip hop that I started listening to, and I still like that kind of stuff. Is still on. That's still what I listen to now.
Right.
I don't listen to as much contemporary hip hop as you do. I listen to a lot of stuff that I like, but if someone asks me, so like I have a cousin who's in his late 20s, and he's a lot younger than me, but he's a super good guy. And when he started to listen to hip hop, he asked me what he should listen to. And I, of course, gave him the Tribe Called Quest and the Beastie Boys and like old EPMD and K Solo and Public Enemy, and then got into like Biggie and Tupac and stuff like that. And he, to this day, thanks me for introducing him to A Tribe Called Quest. So yeah,
I was late to Tribe as well. Like talking about the last couple years, really getting to Tribe. I remember I have a friend that his older brother was real big into hip hop, and they loved Tribe, and it didn't resonate with me because that's when I was listening to like Snoop and the West Coast stuff. So it's two totally different sounds, different subject matters, and by no means was I ever a gangster type of person, but I just love that type of music. But
I like that kind of music too.
But then I got into Tribe the last couple years, and I love it.
I remember my concert highlight of my life was Tribe played a show at Mandel Hall at University of Chicago.
Okay.
And I remember that Q-Tip, during one of the songs, he would say something, then he'd put the mic in the crowd, and he put the mic right in front of me once. So I was on the mic briefly during a Tribe song at Mandel Hall, and that was like the height of my life right there, being on a Tribe song at a Tribe concert.
And you didn't like go silent, you knew what to say?
Yeah, I knew exactly what to say. Like, I've got those albums memorized top to bottom.
Nice. All right, well, there you have it. We've got everything from technology to Well-Stack to favorite hip-hop album. We covered a lot. So, Jonathan, thanks for taking the time to just come visit and then also to record this. I'll see you in September. Looking forward to that. So hopefully everybody else, I've tried to explain why I think this conference is so valuable to advisors. This is just another reason why. So hopefully if you haven't registered, you register and go there, and we'll see you there. But I would echo what Jonathan said, that people there are going to be very willing to talk about this stuff, very helpful, very approachable. So if you have questions, we're going to be there talking about what we're using and kind of guide you if you want. So thanks again for showing up. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you all at Well-Stack next month.
Thank you, Justin.